And we're joined now by Ron Prosor, Israel's ambassador to Germany, for more insight on what's taking place. Thank you for being here, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you for having me.
Let me just ask you, how did you feel this morning when you heard the news?
Well, you know that thinking of my family, thinking of friends in kibbutzim, in the different places in Israel, and it's frightening because at the end of the day, you see Hamas terrorist organization going out, shooting civilians. They don't really care if it's men, women, or children, and basically deciding to declare war on Israel. And we have to make sure that we really retaliate in a way and a manner that they will not think again or think twice or three times before they think to do something similar in the future.
Is this ability to retaliate hampered by the presence of hostages in the hands of the Palestinians? Is this a different kind of situation?
First, as we speak, and by the way, as we speak, still we have Hamas terrorists running in villages, in kibbutzim, and in Israeli cities. We have to free them. They've taken hostages both in Israel, they've taken hostages to Gaza, and they're basically behaving like barbarians out there. And I see that on your screen that you call them gunmen, not gunmen, not, you have to also change this thing because it's absolutely important. We're talking with barbarians that basically a terrorist organization, and those who do not understand until today that this is a terrorist organization, I hope today will really flip the coin inside their heads.
There's bound to be a lot of thinking in a lot of quarters. Tell me about the thinking that's taking place in Israel and perhaps in your mind about the surprise of this. Was there an intelligence failure? How could this have happened?
First, it's really a legitimate and a good question. And as you know, Israelis will go down and will really scrutinize this thing, but not now. Now we're focused on defending the people of Israel. As we speak, fighting is still going on, and going back and inside Gaza, making sure that Hamas infrastructures and its leaders will not be able to seek safe haven there. It's their decision, it's their responsibility. And when things are now happening in Gaza, I see the support that Israel receives today from the international community. But in the next days and weeks, this support we really need. We don't need this finger morally looking at us and telling us this is disproportionate. Because what we saw today was unprovoked, was basically done in a way that puts so many civilians in jeopardy. And there has to be a price paid by Hamas leadership, clearly, and it's going to be done.
You say it was unprovoked. Can there be a rationale in the head of the Hamas leadership seeing, for instance, the normalization efforts that the United States is pushing Saudi Arabia to undertake with Israel, saying, we're going to be forgotten. We're no longer going to be the pet cause of the Arab. We have to be remembered, and this is a way to do it.
I think that what you allude to, I think that Iran is behind this.
Okay.
Basically trying to destroy any Israeli-Saudi deal. Okay. So there's logic to Iran being behind it. We know that this is the case, but it doesn't take away from the responsibility of Hamas's leaders. Just think of it, infrastructure. Instead of bringing, some kind of, aid to their own people, schools, hospitals, anything that is relevant to build, what they do is they build rockets, the ammunition, and basically use Gaza as a terror hub against Israel. By the way, in sea, in land, and also we saw clearly what's happening today on all sides, and we feel as Israelis, we're on the front line encountering phenomena that Western democracies have yet to encounter. And when today in Berlin I saw, sweets and joyful, dances by Samidun in Sonnenallee, saying, God, this is a Trojan, horse in the middle of Germany, in its capital, basically using and abusing German democracy. This cannot happen here. Don't allow basically Samidun and others to turn Berlin into Gaza.
Okay, let's get back to Iran, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And the situation the Israeli armed forces are facing. Hezbollah, sponsored by Iran in Lebanon, is that a concern? Does that make a retaliation more difficult?
No. First of all, Hezbollah, absolutely. The Iranians are sending weapons, rockets, and have shown in the past that they control Hezbollah as a proxy, the same way as Hamas. Yes, we're very concerned. Yes, we made messages very clear to Hezbollah, but now we're focused on Hamas on the southern border. But you see what Israel has, its neighborhood around us, which shows you why sometimes from the outside it feels like we are too strict in different ways in which we protect ourselves, in the crossings. No, we're not. They bombed the way, they bombed the crossings where we pass food, water, medication over to Gaza. They don't care. They really don't care about their own population. And what we see now is really something unprecedented in the cities, in the kibbutzim in Israel, where civilians have been shot dead, been taken hostage, and Israel will react accordingly.
And Israel now, a nation in shock, a nation, I think, perhaps driven by a new sense of national unity. But in the months previous, there have been deep divisions, as you well know, over judicial reform, with some of the reservists from the Air Force staying at home. Was that possibly seen as a sign of weakness, do you think, by Israel's enemies? Like, this is the time to strike?
I think they might have thought this way, but this is exactly what unifies Israel. And you saw also the opposition saying, Israel, the people of Israel are under attack. We all stand together and are on the front line protecting civilians, because Hamas doesn't make a differentiation between an Orthodox Jew and a secular Jew. If you're left-oriented, right-oriented, they don't care. And it basically unified Israel today in such a manner that we haven't seen at least in the last year.
So it's not a weakening of Israel, but a strengthening of it somehow, perhaps paradoxically.
I think that people don't understand that the way we argue with each other, that sometimes from the outside looks like weakness, this is our biggest strength. We scrutinize ourselves, we argue. I think this is part of our character, but today we all stand together and we have to make sure that Hamas and its leaders pay a high price for starting war against Israel. The whole neighborhood is watching. We have to make sure that in the deterrence that we need in this region, this message is very clear.
Okay. Ron Prosor, Israel's ambassador to Germany. Thanks so much for talking to DW.
Thank you.